Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Farooq Khan. On behalf of the board of the Islamic Center of Long Island and the Executive Committee, I welcome all of you on this nice and cold day to participate in what I believe will be a very important and timely session. Earlier this morning I was asked by our colleagues from Newsday, what's this all about? Well, in our travels, the most commonly asked question is, what is the role of women in Islam? This is, doesn't matter whether you're in a church or a synagogue or a university or at a friend's house, this is the question always pops up. And today's session will be an attempt to answer that. And my role is simply to welcome all of you, because the program has been put together, developed by individuals you will meet during the day. Let me just briefly point out something we published in our newsletter last year. When I traveled to one of the schools, there was a seminar. A young lady came to me, and that was the time when there was a lot of discussion about what was going on in Manhattan with the group which had organized a joint prayer session led by a woman. And one of the 10th graders came to me and asked the following question. Is it not true that in the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, women could hear and see the Prophet, and later the leaders of the Muslims, the Khulafa, when they spoke from the pulpit, they could actually see the individuals and had an opportunity to interact with them during the khutbahs, and you can see it's a women's program because you can see the touch already. The giant flowers have started coming in. There's a well-documented incident when Khalif Umar went back to give a sermon, and a woman from the audience questioned him about what he had said, and he retracted and he accepted the women's version. It's also well documented that when the Prophet felt that the women were too far away to hear, or he had specific points to make, he would walk over to their section and present a khutbah for them. There are many examples from the life and the traditions of the Prophet and his close companions, in particular Hazrat Aisha. Most of the traditions and the hadiths that we use can be traced back to her. So she becomes a repository for the very important points that we use in our day-to-day life. Also, those of us who have gone to Kaaba very quickly realize that there are really no barriers. You walk in, you go around, you do the same thing, both for men as well as women. So with that background, when we have our young, educated women start asking questions, why are you putting us in the attic? Why aren't you allowing us to talk with the khatib? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? There are different kinds of responses come forth, from the extreme to the no response. But we need to address those questions. Otherwise, we will be we'll have big unresolved issues which are always a source of conflict. So the question is, what is the role of women in the United States? And here we are blessed to be in a great country with a very diverse population. Individuals that come from different cultures, and with that they bring their own practices. So our challenge is to separate out the culture from the faith. And issues of culture many times override some of the core principles which we all appreciate. And as I said many times, there are three kinds of people, and I'll close with this. The largest group of individuals, something happens, they'll just watch and say, okay, this is happening. The other group will say, well, what happened here? And they'll just keep wondering and walk away. The third group will look at the problem, whether it's a road accident, whether it's some political issue. They'll say, let me dig into it and see if I need to make a change. In other words, make things happen. So the group you're going to be meeting with today, the Domestic Harmony Committee, they have taken the lead in putting together a very fine program where we'll be addressing the issue of what exactly is the role of women in public space, in a mosque, in a political sphere, in other places. And just as a background, a study was done in Detroit of the various mosques, and they analyzed several dozens of mosques. And this is the summary of that analysis. 67% of the women prayed behind a curtain. 33% did not pray behind a curtain. So we have both kinds of possibilities. My suggestion is it should be a matter of choice and left to the individual worshipper. 80% of the mosques had provisions to allow Muslim women to be on the board and the executive committee. 20% did not have that provision. Although 80% had that provision, not all of them were utilizing it. So there were quite a few women who were not utilizing what was available. And what became very clear is the ethnic difference. In some communities, it was the ethnicity that determined the role of the women in the public space. And finally, when I was a little kid growing up, we had a mosque right across our home in Barzala, Srinagar. And my dad was involved with it quite a bit. And we had a big hall. And I remember this was about 50, 60 years ago. There was a long partition built all the way to the front, to the mihrab. And my mom would be praying on this side, and dad would be praying on this side. That was 1950, 52, 53. Now I go back, that thing is gone back to other traditions now. So this is an evolving stage, and a lot will depend on how the communities take charge and move on. So with that brief intro, I'd like to thank the organizers who have spent many hours to put this together. And we are delighted on behalf of Islamic Center to welcome all of you, and I'm sure there will be many more coming in as the day progresses. And I know you're in for a very informative session. Assalamu alaikum.